I love the way that Ronald Heifetz, who is a good professor, a good writer, and a fairly non-emotive public speaker, can just so casually say such explosive things as, crisis is usually an indicator of an adaptive challenge. Or, persistent conflict is usually an indicator of an adaptive challenge. And maybe as you think through your ministry where there are crises or persistent conflict, that you can maybe even calmly in your own spirit say, oh, maybe there's an adaptive challenge there. I love some of his examples of, even after surgery, that only 8% of the people are able or willing to make the necessary adaptive changes to their own life or lifestyle. I love his analogy that he didn't quite carry all the way forward about the U.S. fiscal challenges and even thinking through, what Barack Obama did in 2008 with creating all sorts of government funding that now creates this fiscal cliff that they're looking at now, was treating an adaptive challenge with a technical short-term solution, right? He pointed out that the diagnostic failure is to throw a technical fix at an adaptive challenge, and that we are all under pressure as leaders to treat adaptive challenges as if they were technical. In another one of his books that is not on your list to read, called The Practice of Adaptive Leadership, which is basically chapter 2 on steroids, he says in that book, he says, adaptive challenges can only be addressed through changes in people's priorities, beliefs, habits, and loyalties. Making progress requires going beyond any authoritative expertise to mobilize discovery, shedding certain entrenched ways, tolerating losses, and generating the new capacity to thrive anew. So, let's think about and let's think through some of the differences that you've already elucidated in your feedback about what the difference is between technical and adaptive. But let's think again about the distinction between technical and adaptive. In a technical challenge, the problem definition is usually fairly clear. I have to rake the leaves. It's clear. They're on the lawn, right? The solution is clear. Pick up a rake and start raking them. And the locus of the work is, I'm the one with the authority. I've got the rake in my hands. I can start raking. The technical problem is now a technical solution, and it's done. Many challenges, he points out in his book, are a balance between a technical challenge and an adaptive challenge. But that if you're to look at an adaptive challenge all on its own, you can see that right through that problem definition, even understanding the problem requires some learning, some investigating. It's not simple even to define the problem. That the solution also requires learning, that there isn't some quick fix. This is how we did it last year. This is how we're going to do it next year. This is how that other church did it. This is how we'll do it. There isn't some quick fix that requires learning. And that the locus of the work happens in the stakeholder themselves. That whoever is involved in that challenge probably needs to go through some kind of change. So at our tables, we'd like to spend about 10 minutes or so thinking through the challenges that we're currently facing in the ministry we serve. Okay, think about and talk about, to the extent that you're able, in the ministry that you serve, name that ministry, talk to each other about a challenge that you're facing. Maybe you know it's a challenge because there's crisis. Maybe you know it's a challenge because there's persistent conflict, right? Are there any challenges which are adaptive and which maybe right now you and your leadership are treating as technical? And how do you know, and help each other work through, how you know the challenge is adaptive? What sorts of technical solutions have you thrown at it or tried without success? And then even talk to each other about courage and why it's necessary in helping you and your leaders face the adaptive challenges as opposed to just treating them as technical ones. So we're going to spend a good 10 minutes or so at our tables, and if one of you can take notes about some of the things that you're discovering together, you don't have to put people's names on them or what that ministry is. We're not here to sort of out each other in our stories, but rather to learn with and from each other. And so we'll do about 10 minutes of at our table discussion, and then we'll spend about 5 minutes talking about that as a large group. And then after that, we're going to go into our prayer triads and even pray for each other, maybe even about some of these things. If during this time you want to get up and get more food or coffee, there is more there, and help yourself to it. But let's spend 10 minutes on these questions right here.